Hello, my name is Mike Salader, Global Head of QlikTech's Industry Market Development Team. In today's economy, every technology spend needs to be closely scrutinized. And one of the things that comes up time and time again is the need for ROI quantification. So working with a few customers, we've built out the QlikView ROI calculator. And it's intended to measure the value that the QlikView investment is going to bring to an organization. It also utilizes out-of-the-box QlikView functionality. So some really innovative ways of comparing scenarios, running Monte Carlo simulations, and calculating the time value of money. So let's take a look at the application. This scenario is going to look at a 50 user configuration. And so the first thing I'm going to do is look at a few previously run scenarios. So I'll use the View Save Scenarios tab and pull up scenario 1, which was run earlier today. In that scenario, I could see that our payback period was roughly 0.9 years, so under a year to get back the entire QlikView cost. Similarly, I can see the internal rate of return, the net present value, our discount rate, what the accumulation after tax cash flows was. And so by comparing this scenario, I can see quite simply that this is a compelling use case. But let's look at the second scenario that we ran. And that scenario too had a very compelling return, just over 1 year. It was a 104% internal rate of return. And perhaps I've shared these with my management team. They've looked at them and said, that's great, but let's modify some of the input variables, rerun the scenario, and come back and show the results. Well, we could do that in just a fraction of time in QlikView. So we'll go over to the Build the Scenario tab. And I'm going to change a few of the inputs here. First thing I'm going to do is rename this to be Scenario 3. You can see that on the left-hand side, all of our input variables are included, such as our total number of users, our costs, not only the license costs, but also costs associated to maintenance, server, hardware, consulting, education, as well as the cost to administer the environment on an ongoing basis. In the middle section, we input the benefits assumptions, and this is really where a close understanding of your business is critical. So we'll sit down with you and understand where you can get cost savings, as well as where you can get increased revenue as a result of their QlikView implementation. So an example would be a reduction in reporting administration, or perhaps a reduction in the maintenance spend that you have with an alternative or legacy BI product. And so we'll put those inputs into the 5-year period. And the last input we're going to put in is the minutes saved per week. Now this translates into the amount of efficiencies and time gained that a user will get by implementing QlikView. So in my prior scenario, I had 75 minutes. What happens if I change that to be 60 minutes a week? It's a more conservative estimate. I could also put in the hourly rate per employee, what we anticipate in terms of their utilization rate, and I'm telling the system to run this through 10,000 simulations. So when I click Calculate, QlikView's out-of-the-box calculation capabilities run through that 10,000 simulations, and I'm able to see the results of that scenario right on my screen. So I can see the payback period of that scenario is roughly 1.4 years, an internal rate of return of roughly 80%, and I can see the full details of the cash flow table on the screen. So right off the bat, I can feel pretty confident that there's a compelling use case here. But let's look at the different scenarios that we've just generated, both the new scenario as well as the prior two scenarios. And utilizing QlikView's comparative analysis feature, I can see the relative performance of those scenarios to one another. So scenario 1 versus scenario 2 versus 3, and what the payback period is for all 3 of them. And so this report or this output could be shared with my management team as a way to confidently feel that this investment is worthwhile. But the last piece of the equation here that often gets asked is, well, what if I wanted to, what if I don't feel really certain about that number that you put in terms of the amount of time savings? What we've done through that simulation is we've created a Monte Carlo histogram, so we can see that at a certain level of probability, what we anticipate the result to be. So I've run through close to 10,000 simulations. You can see the standard deviation, and at 90% confidence, I believe that that can translate to 1 FTE in terms of return and time saved. Similar, I can look down and at 30% confidence, that's going to roughly translate to 1.5 to close to 2 FTEs. So we're able to stress the overall assumptions, input the model, test multiple scenarios against each other, and feel confident that the output is something that we can share with our stakeholders to justify the moving forward with this project. So in summary, QlikView is used not only to help justify the investment in QlikView, but you're able to quantify the value that you can anticipate in getting on your project. And each and every customer is different. So if you see something here that interests you, I ask you to follow the steps on the screen to take a closer look and schedule some time with your QlikView representative to take a deeper dive utilizing your data.